Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the special meeting to order. The hour of 5:30 having come and gone. I'd like to call the special meeting to order at 6 o'clock p.m. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Harvey.
Here.
Wilson. Tillman.
Here.
Williams.
Here.
Gardner.
Here.
Nelson. Phillips.
Here.
With 5 members answering the call, we do have a quorum to start the meeting. For the record, please add Alderwoman Nelson to the roll at 6:01 p.m. We do have 6 members ready to do business. The second item on the agenda is public comment. As of 10 a.m. today, we have not received any public comment regarding this agenda tonight or the next agenda. Is there anyone from the public here today who would like to comment on any item on the agenda? Anyone from the public who would like to comment on any item on the agenda? If not, under the mayor's report, I'm delivering to the city council a veto message. Please be advised that I will be vetoing ordinance 2522 at the next regularly scheduled meeting, which will be January 8th, 2026, because tonight's rescheduled regular meeting is less than 5 days after the meeting on December 18th, Thursday, December 18th, at which ordinance 2522 was adopted. I cannot veto that ordinance tonight. I will be providing the city council that veto message on January 8th, at the January 8th meeting. Our fourth item on the agenda, the council asked that Mr. Kasparic come before us, and I believe he sent everything to everyone regarding the bonds and our update. So at this time, we'd like to invite John Kasparic up to talk about the status of the bonds, some of the items John Kasparic mentioned in our economic development report.
Pardon me, Mayor. May I be recognized as being here?
Yes,
For the
Alderman.
record. I mean, for the record.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. For 6:03 p.m., Alderwoman Wilson is in the special meeting. And we also have in the special meeting City Clerk Figgs and our City Treasurer. We have our Fire Chief here. We have John Kasparic, our Deputy Clerk, our Attorney. We have Attorney Dominic Lanzito. We have Attorney Bert Olson here tonight. Attorney Felicia here tonight. We have Deanne, our City Administrator, here tonight. Our Deputy Clerk here tonight, Jessica Coffey, and of course, John Kasparic. John, it's all you.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, department heads, members of the public here, and in TV land. First little order of business. Everybody, I put on by your desk today a yellow booklet. This is the tax levy booklet that I prepare each year. It's updated for this year's tax levy. This is going to be this is just a booklet filled with history. So that's all I'm giving it to you for. There's some charts and graphs, but it has 10 years of our tax levy history, breaking down the tax levies by all the different funds and so forth. It also has the tax levy that was discussed at the December 4th meeting, so it can refresh your memory. On Monday, it's just going to be the ordinances. I'm not going to go through any detail of this book. However, if you have any questions, you all have my email as well as my cell phone, so please feel free to give me a call.
So what John is referring to, there will be a tax levy meeting. We have to, by law, have 20 days to pass it.
Correct.
That 20th day was December 24th. So that meeting, that tax levy meeting will be on Monday, December 29th. It will be regarding the tax levy. Go ahead,
Thank you.
John.
And Alderman, just as one other point, we have to pass the tax levy by the laws of the state by the last Tuesday of December. So the 30th is December. We have to have the levy filed. So that's the reason we're selecting the 29th. All right. With that being said, in front of you now is another booklet I put together for tonight's meeting. I sent you the same booklet yesterday with an explanation, but I was more general explanation because I'm anticipating there'll probably be more detailed questions today. Plus, this is I hope everybody, this is in bigger print now. I'm learning how to make things in bigger print, so great. Just for the public's information, this is the city council and the council had asked that I do a reconciliation of all expenses as well as revenues that the 2023 capital projects funds have expended and plus brought in this since February when we issued the bonds of 23. So we have two bond issues. There is a 2023A and a 2023B. All the information is going to go through here, is broken out in here, and I'd like to explain it. If anybody has any questions, I'm going to go over it kind of quick, but again, I think everything is somewhat self-explanatory because it is the information you've been asking for. Sorry it took so long, but to recreate 2.5 years of work wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. So, the very first page, and this is an important page to have in order to go with what was deposited into the checking accounts, it shows that we issued two bonds, a Series A that had par value of $17,780,000, a 2023B that had a par value of $7,220. These are GO bonds. They do have a revenue pledge against them to make up any difference if the tax levy is insufficient. So the two bonds at par are listed. They're the first two items noted. Then we have OID, which is called original issue premium. So we got a premium on the bonds issued. That's a direct result of how interest rates are calculated on our bonds. That was $535,000. There's also the underwriter discount, which is what we pay the underwriters to issue the bonds. That was $421,000. So the net proceeds that the city got at that time was a total of $25,114,246. Coming against that money, there were other expenses. We had to pay for bond insurance, $335,356. There was also bond counsel, $75,000. There was also underwriter counsel, $85,000. S&P Global, I think many of us were aware of the credit rating that we went through and their fees, $23,750. Amalgamated Bank, because they were set up as the original escrow, and paying agent, $2,600. And then to get our QSIP number was another $965. So there was another $185,000 of miscellaneous expenses. So if you look and see right after uses under the assured guarantee, the money that got deposited into the 2023A fund, $16,266,242 is money available to be used for bond projects that fell under the caption of A. Another $1,822,400 was issued as capitalized interest. And what I mean by capitalized interest, when we were issuing these bonds, we did not want these bonds to go on the tax rolls immediately. So what we did is we added interest to the bonds so that there would be interest in the bonds that was put into a debt service account that would pay the first few interest-only payments. So a total going into the A account, the one checking account or one account that was set up at ABLC Bank, Amalgamated Bank, $18,088,642. The B project, the B fund, we have project money of $6,178,032, and we also issued capitalized interest in there of $324,900 to pay a portion, well, to pay the first few interest payments that would be due on the bonds. Interest payments are due every 6 months, and the way this bond was set up, the first 2 years plus were set up as interest-only payments as we were waiting for other bonds to mature, which we had those discussions when we were doing the levy, so I won't go into them any further. But the reason I wanted to go over this is because when you get to the next page is the breakdown of the 2023A capital project money. So I started off with the bonds. I subtract the cost of bonds. I also subtract this brings us down to or how we came from par to the money that's available to be used on projects of $16,266,242. And then also deposited into that same account was the capital project money. That's how we tie into the 18 million. So that will tie right into the bank account. As you can see, when the original project, when we were talking about it, now these are all estimates, by the way, when we're doing this. So this is what we were telling the credit rating. This is obviously what was discussed in our council meetings, what we were telling the public. This is the intended purpose of the bonds. And these are all estimates on costs. We're anticipating on the sewer project $10 million even. The Little Calumet River project, $3 million even. Solomon Estates utility infrastructure, $500,000. Other water and sewer infrastructure, so there was nothing really tagged that we said we're going to do with that money. So oftentimes when I say we have money in the bonds, this is where I'm in reference to when they're infrastructure, $4,280,000. Now from there, as you will see, I have to subtract out the costs allocated to the bond proceeds plus the debt service fund, so that included the OID, the discount, bond issuance costs, and the capitalized interest because it came from those bond proceeds. So you can see how much was allocated, and I did that on a percentage of the $17,280,000. So you look at cost allocated per bonds. I took money off for the 4 main projects that are noted. So we start off with total proceeds, and I show you how those proceeds are now available to be spent. As requested by the council, you wanted a reconciliation. So the very first column is interest income. And on there, you'll see all of the entries. I went through the general ledger. We have interest income. This particular report will go 3 pages. So I'll just go to the 3rd page. I'm not going to get into the minutia of all of the detail. This account earned, this account has a total of $1,574,109 still available. Now, that's money we talked about for possibly using to continue to abate the taxes, especially the interest portion. You can see from the second line on the bottom, there were council motions that already approved transferring $455,600 of interest income to help pay the interest on the bonds. The interest on the bonds in the general ledger were all charged to the capitalized interest, so we needed to move the interest income to actually reflect that. So what I'm saying here is there's $1.5 million, just under $1.6 million of interest income. But again, caution, all discussions are saying we're going to use that for future tax levy abatements. Your sewer project started off with $9,148,000, and you can then see on page 2, all of the negative, obviously they're in brackets because they're subtracting. The general ledger only reflects descriptions. If you need to know actual payees, the treasurer's office will be able to track those payees down for you because they're not in the general ledger. But I have all the descriptions of what the expenses were for. And if you look down on the bottom of the last page of the 2023 capital projects, you will see that a total of $365,798 has been spent for the sewer projects, leaving available funds of $8,782,820. The Little Calumet River, when you take out the bond cost, had $2,744,585 available. Total cost charged to the Little Calumet River project, $495,241. So there's still $2,249,345. Solomon Estates, while there was an approval, there hasn't been any money expended. After bond costs, there's $457,430.89. And then last but not least is the other water and sewer projects. There was, under this one here, no money has been expended out of there. So again, sometimes when we had these meetings, do we have any money in here to cover say, engineering costs for infrastructure, some economic incentive agreements that are resulting in infrastructure for the improvement of a new business coming in, this account could be eligible for that expenditure. And as you can see, to rest the council assured, no money has been spent from that line item. The capitalized interest you can see is zero. Any future money that we pay on interest is just going to be a transfer of interest income to offset that. And then the miscellaneous, there's one item I still need to get a further description as to where this is going to belong to, and I got to talk to the engineers about it. It's the $20,173. That was additional money that was paid to the engineer, but it wasn't in one of the categories that I could allocate to, so I needed time to look at that further, and I will have that. This report is updated through October 9th. So understand when we're putting all this information together, I know that October's coming gone, November's coming gone. I will update it, but now that we have the basic framework, it'll just be a question of posting those few transactions. So cash in the 2023A bonds is $16,965,082. And if you cross-foot the bottom, that's how your allocations are available for the various projects. Does that make sense? Everybody good?
Yes.
Great. By the way, as you go through it, and I know this is a lot, if you look at it, just call my phone number, not on Christmas Eve or day, it'll go in the voicemail, but if you call, I'll get the answers to you, all right? The next one, the 2023B, basically taking that beginning information from the closing statement, showing the par value of the bonds, the costs allocated to the bonds, and if you look at what's deposited into the project fund plus what's deposited into the debt service fund, that ties into what went into the single account at AVOC Bank, escrow, $6,502,932. And just like the 2023A, the funds that we had set up were technology fund for $1 million, public works equipment, and/or infrastructure, $2,700,000. Other infrastructure and economic development, $3,020,000. Contingency, $500,000. So I subtracted the bond cost to come down to what is the net available for each of those projects, because that had to be taken out at the very top. And then you will see, starting off with interest income. Now this one goes to the very last page of the book. There is still $247,561 of interest available to be utilized to abate against the bonds. We have had capitalized interest. The money capitalized interest was already expended to pay the bond interest when they were due. We've also used, and those were motions passed by the council, another $487,350 to pay the interest to continue to be able to abate the bonds that otherwise would have went on the tax rolls. So that number will continue to grow if we do more abatements moving forward. So as you can see, under the technology, and I have all of the expenditures as noted, there was $469,750, leaving us $385,953 left over in the technology fund. Public Works, no money has been expended, so the full $2,310,000 is available. Under other infrastructure, I can tell you a lot of these are demos, because you'll see them when you read them. They're demos as far as, or buying a property. That's $532,245. That still leaves us $2,051,918. No money has been expended yet in the contingency. Contingency is a very broad-based item. That means when the bonds are issued, we can buy any, and the way I would restrict it recommend for the council, any infrastructure or equipment purchases. And I'm talking about large equipment purchases, not like a $2,000 laptop. Okay, this is where we would use the contingency. Okay, because when you go back, look at the bond documents, the bond documents do have a coverall statement that said in any other infrastructure and or equipment needs of the city. So this account has that's a typo error, that should say 10-7. Should have 5 million, well, not should, does have $5,423,598. So this shows all transactions that have gone through the escrow account for both bonds. As you can see, we have over 5 million in one account and an additional 16 million, so we're sitting with over 21 million, almost 22,300,000. So we have the vast majority of it, but the biggest project, which the engineers can say for a different meeting, as we all know, that's the televising and and then the design of improving our sewer system, and that's we already knew going in that would be a 3+ year project. So not all that money would have been expended in the first year. The Little Cal, everybody understands when we were talking about that, that's to improve the dikes. That's also paying the Army Corps of Engineers. And then there was the cost of maintaining the dikes that have come out of there as well, tree cutting being the number one, as you'll see in there. And that's it. And I will have this then updated. I'll try to get this updated to you for the end of November, probably the final week of December. But this is every dollar, every expenditure that's been charged. By the way, when you see the items in red, that's a little tricky. This is an accounting issue. There is 2 accounts that we basically maintain. We have the Capital Projects Fund, we have the Debt Service Fund. But when ABLC Bank set up the escrow account, they only gave us 1 account. So that's why you see where I'm talking about project money and then debt service money, they both got deposited into the same account. So when she was moving money from one account to go into the other account, they actually did literally go into 2 different accounts, but over here, when they went over here, we have to show them as netting out to 0. That's why it nets out to 0. So it isn't like these are accounting errors or something of that nature. It's just we're moving money from within 2023A project to 2083 debt service, but for the checking account, it's 1 account. In our general ledger, it's 2. And that's just the way the escrows got set up. Any questions related to this?
In the A bond, the 20,000 that you'll go back and see what that overage or payment to engineer. Matt, do you happen to know what that payment was for engineering?
I do not know off the top.
It was
of my head.
I can tell you, because I'm looking at this, I was talking to Nicole, and we needed more explanation. It was money to come out of the bond fund. It was left under miscellaneous. When I talked to her, that's why I'm saying we can get you the vendor. $98,260, which was a sewer project, was originally charged to the sewer fund. And so we reclassified it here. But when you do reclassification entries in the general ledger, that's how they read, reclassify or adjust. So we have to go back to the original entry as it was posted. We can't change the books and make that entry disappear. The other 20,000, this is a bill paid to the engineers, and I know it's related. I just I wasn't sure if it was to the sewer project or the Little Cal, and because I wanted to have this ready today, when you see this next time, you won't see that. That's why it's highlighted in orange. I wasn't trying to hide nothing, but it is a legitimate bill, trust me on that. And by the way, that was a bill, because this total invoice was $118,000 and change, and that's what got approved by the city council. And that's how it went into the sewer water fund. And then it was later on determined, and I don't know how I can't recall, but if it was brought up to the council, but when we were with the treasurer's office, they reclassified it. So it either got booked originally wrong and it just got reclassified, or it was motioned out later.
Thank you.
Any questions? Feel free to call me, except the 2 days I mentioned. Not January 1st either.
No more questions
I'm just joking,
for John. John, can you stick around for the next 2 items? Next 2 items.
Sit down, or
They're related
somebody
to-
else going to come up here?
They're related to the bond, and
Oh. All right, I'll stand here.
does anybody have any more questions for John Kasparic? If not, Item 5 on the agenda is a presentation by Global Water. I know the council asked for Global Water to come and present. So Global Water, if you guys want to step up. City Council also asked about the agreement. Council was provided the agreement, so tonight we have presentation by Global Water, and then we'll take questions. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Jones. Good evening, City Council members, members of the community. Good evening. My name is Michael Landers. I'm the president of Global Water Technology. We're very happy to have recently opened our new national headquarters at 602 State Street, mid-July. And we're very happy to be a part of the community. The company has existed since 1990. Is family-owned. It was started by Michael Byerly, who is unable to be here tonight. His kids have the influenza that's going around, so our apologies. He did want to be here tonight, but we thought it best with Christmas upon us that we would have him be around his family. But Michael's mother founded the company in 1990, an immigrant of Mexico, and the company was rather small until around 2013. Give or take $500,000 a year in revenue. Michael and I have been working together for about 6 years, and we now are very proud to have offices in 8 other states, and we've drastically grown the company. We remain completely private and really focused on culture and building a community. Both Michael and I were born and raised in Chicago. Calumet City is very important to us. 2 of our longer-term employees have parents that are literally like a block or 2 south of the building. One of my dear friends, Justin Smits, his father was the longtime fire chief of the fire department here in Calumet City, and we have just a large group of employees that were raised in the area. The goal was to keep the main function of the administration and the operation of the company based here. The property, 602 State Street, was something that we identified in the spring of 2024, and it required extensive inspections, both on the environmental and the physical envelope. We conducted a Phase 1 environmental, and the results of that test required a Phase 2 environmental inspection as well. That was a 6-month process, and we were able to move past some of the concerns that were noted. Regarding the physical building itself, the prior manufacturing operation was using various types of oil in the processes that they were utilizing within the space, and it was basically a complete start over. So we knew that going in. Great to work with the department heads, the fire department, to move the project forward throughout 2024 and then into 2025. Unfortunately, we faced significant headwinds with several areas of the property that no matter how much due diligence we performed, simply put, it added a great deal of cost to the project, over $2 million against the budget, which for purchasing the property and construction was somewhere around the total investment was pinned at $9 million to start, okay? What I wanted to share with the council this evening when thinking about this request, the project vision focused on us bringing core elements of what we do as a business here to Calumet City. We own a very large property in Louisville, Kentucky, and we have a large team based there. But to gain efficiencies, we wanted to move all of our distribution, warehousing, and technology here to Calumet City. Any water treatment company, such as Global Water, works with a lab so that we're able to test water, perform tests from everything from Legionella to scale. That lab and the development of a lab is a very costly endeavor, multiple millions of dollars just for that one area of the company. And it employs, with our size currently, to start 10 to 15 technical engineers, okay? We were not able to get the lab into the Phase 1 scope as we had originally planned due to some of the headwinds that we faced. And in addition to that, We had surprises that we never would have been able to find the connection to the Calumet City storm sewer. We have some drainage ponds, or retention ponds, forgive me, out in front of the building. And the weekend we moved in, we had some heavy rain here, and there was water 4 feet deep all the way up to our loading docks. It turned out that the system that is on our side of the property, meaning not Calumet City's problem to deal with, had completely collapsed. So those are just some of the surprises, kind of like buying a house. I told my wife that's what I equated it to. But the fact is, we have to repave the parking lot because of all the sinkholes that were developed. That was unexpected. And certainly the lab to finish out Phase 1 is another near $1 million of investment. Just as important, though, our Phase 2 plans are to add another 1/3 to the office. That's about 40 jobs, in addition to the 75 we have there today. And there is a component of green space on the north and west of the building where we want to completely finish our goals for warehousing and production. That's Phase 2. That's a future project. So just wanted to share some history with the council, what we're looking to accomplish, but the vision is really to enable the creation of the FTE count that we had always pinned for this project. And that's around 115 people based here at 602 State Street in the coming years, with the opportunity to build new warehousing and distribution space on the backside that would add another 30 to 40 jobs to follow. One more thing to say, we have offices in California and Houston, San Francisco and Houston that are rather large. Once again, it makes sense to center everything here in the heartbeat of the country, right in the center of the Midwest, and distribute, using an airline term, hub and spoke. Operate from here, and it puts us right in the center of the country. The water treatment competitors that we go up against quite a bit, they have found ways to do that between here and Missouri and Iowa, and it's certainly the right approach because it just gives us the shortest delivery timelines to the coasts. So I'll pause there. I do have my colleague Chris Olson. He's our Chief Operating Officer. He runs the whole field coast to coast for the company. He came in to be with us tonight. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, before you get to questions, Attorney Lanzito, can you address the items we sent to the City Council with the agreement, and then make sure we share that agreement?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, on November 21st, and then thereafter, I circulated a copy of the draft agreement for everyone's review, as well as the additional documentation that was requested from the November, I believe like 18th meeting, that included what the property taxes are, as well as where the overruns were, the scope of work in Phase 1, and some of the reimbursement, or what they're going to look for in the future as part of that expansion, and what those costs would entail. But that was out of the TIF, which is already not revenue that's seen by the city, but the increment that's generated from the property based on the expansion of the project. So those three elements were contained in the emails. I didn't receive any questions concerning that, but the agreement before you tonight is first and foremost, this is a $150,000 payment, then up to $500,000 in sales tax, which wasn't being generated. So they're generating sales tax from the chemicals and water filtration that they provide. That sales tax would then be used to fund some of those overages. I know there were questions regarding the overages and whether some of it was foreseen, but I think based on Mr. Lander's comments and statements, you can see that some of it was unexpected and, was due to stormwater issues and whatnot. So if there were any questions regarding either the agreement, which is before you, or whether there's any questions regarding the documentation regarding property taxes, and there's a Class 8, because you asked that, and whether that was applied to that, those property bills, property tax bills, those had not been applied yet, but the Class 8 had been previously approved. I believe on tonight's agenda there's an amendment to that Class 8 because I think in the original resolution it was represented that it was 13 months.
Yes.
That it been abandoned, so the Class 8, it was actually 11 months, so there's a special exception that we have to amend the resolution to fall in. But then again, the building had been abandoned for 11 months, and they have invested substantial money into the property. So with that, if there are any questions from the council.
Yes, there is.
Alderman Gardner.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for coming out. Just explaining a little more in detail. We do know that undertaking large construction projects like these come with a great number of risk. However, did you guys foresee any cost overruns when you guys were doing your budgeting for construction?
Thank you for the question. We certainly planned for a contingency based on the depth of environmental that was required to get the property cleared by, with a Phase 2 inspection. There were questions about, candidly, a prior spill that is a property that is not 602 State Street, but close enough where was there contamination. So just based on the environmental side, the answer is yes. We had allowed for in our construction and project budget a much larger contingency to cover for that. The physical scope that really drove the headwinds that I'm speaking to and referring to tonight was unfortunately what we started to uncover after we had closed on the property, after we had begun the proper process of submitting design documentation to Calumet City and actually getting into construction. The building had established restrooms and facilities that are required by code, but had not performed the installation of such facilities, especially near the office, to code. Said differently, the ladies' restroom, there was no access, ADA access, you required a stairwell, but the plumbing, the actual plumbing behind the drywall, the way the toilet, sink, and shower had been installed was not legal. It had to be demoed out. That's one example. The toilet worked, the shower worked on the inspection, but the actual plumbing was not to code. The bathroom requirements with State of Illinois code, Cook County Municipal Code, and here in Calumet City is another example. We were very keenly aware of what our occupancy would require from an employee headcount standpoint. The challenge is, though the bathrooms were sufficient for both men's and women's on the ground level, not upstairs, the fact is the way they had been built in the 60s, the toilets themselves were located too closely together such that we would not meet code when replacing the partitions. So they passed an inspection, but that 2 inches made the bathrooms not legal. And that's not even getting into building an ADA stall. Those are some of the examples of the way things had been constructed. Not only was it not long-term viable, it wasn't legal from a code standpoint. Okay. Certainly the environmental inspection did expose the large quantity of non-evaporated oil that was throughout the space. I don't think any inspection would have confirmed what we found out when we started construction in the summer of '24, where on the first warm day, there was oil literally all over the floor. It had sat on the joists and various pipes overhead, and as soon as it warmed up, it would literally drip and rain onto the floor. It turned out that they were, ahead of each tour, they were re-cleaning the entire 100,000 square foot floor space. That led to us needing to bring in an environmental contractor, and I believe
For remediation?
Some of the not only remediation, but also we literally had to power wash and clean the entire interior of the building warehouse, top to bottom. That meant light fixtures were unfortunately met with water. They had to be replaced because they didn't work any longer. It had a domino effect, but that was something that despite all of the good due diligence that went into the environmental, that it just was never known that that would be a problem, and it took the warm months of summer 2024 to expose that. Those were some of the surprises, and as I mentioned, you probably know State Street well. Those ponds had the cattails that had grown over the last few years. I looked back at some images on the computer, and when they had dredged those or kind of cleaned them up, there's pictures from like 2019 where there's stones and it's relatively clean. Well, all those cattails had grown. The challenge is there was no longer, the way the drainage was approved by Calumet City, All of the storm sewer goes from one end of the property down through and out the parking lot, basically, out to the Calumet City storm sewer. Because of the freeze thaw and all of this vegetation that they weren't maintaining, it was leading to the storm sewer right under our parking lot being completely clogged. We literally were moving in July, and we had patched, you can go drive by and see all the squares. We had torn up asphalt, put in chipped stone. We had no idea. It was all caving right into the storm sewer. So there's no way we would have, I've done construction, I should share with all of you, one of the reasons that this was so exciting for me to join Michael and my colleagues, my whole background is construction in Chicago. I moved United Airlines from Elk Grove Village into Sears Tower. I've done redevelopment for TTX, Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts. Construction is actually my entire background, my entire career prior to joining Global. And, you know, I like to think that I crossed every T and dotted every I on behalf of our team, but some of these things were truly firsts in my own career, like, well, never thought I'd have to scope the storm sewer. You know, I certainly wish I would have. It would have been another item we would have talked about at closing. So I'm trying to give you more of the background, but the challenge is not about what we uncovered, Alderman. The biggest concern as president that I have is the vision. This project is enabling our growth, and we've grown tremendously over the last 5 years.
Right.
Stayed true to who we are with the culture, but the vision for the project and the investment that we've made is not only to create a national headquarters, but to have the core functions that are the most important to what Chris and I manage every day in this property. And we're here, we're operating, it's been a huge success. But we want to keep going, and this request helps enable that lab, and it helps us get lined up for 2027 for the phase 2, which will require full design documentation and working with the city, and we'll be by the book as we always are. But we want to keep that head of steam. We want to get the goals accomplished, because it does us no good to have this, this lab in Kentucky, and then a large portion of distribution in Houston, Texas. We have a great team there, wonderful people. They're all going to have jobs there, but we want to repurpose it to be a field and service-focused team. We want the core functions here. And what we're asking for is your support in enabling and unlocking that. This will make a tremendous, help to us moving forward with that in the near term. And then 27 is that phase 2, which is the office expansion for the office-based roles. And then ultimately, 29 is where we're looking at utilizing that green, 28, 29. I think it'll be 29 based on a variety of factors, but that green space where we can expand that production area, which is also critical to what we do. So I hope I've given you some more information.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Alderwoman Wilson?
Yeah, thank you. So I just want to review.
Yep.
You knew you all were purchasing a vacant manufacturing building, right?
We did.
So there was a likelihood of the oil and all of the stuff that you uncovered during the summer months. Attorney Lanzito, you said that they pay into a TIF. If this was empty for 11 months, how much have they paid into that TIF?
Alderwoman, what I indicated is the increment would go into that. I don't have the calculation of what's gone into the TIF from the one parcel that's in it, but a portion of this property, and that's what I said, there's going to be a request for certain TIF eligible reimbursements that will be made in the future to pay for some of the planning, site prep, and some of the other matters that are, I don't have the specifics that would have gone in, and they're also paying in arrears, so the increment is only going to be based on a reassessment, so it's the increment that goes into the TIF.
Okay.
And I don't know what the original EAV is, so I can't tell you precisely what the actual dollar value is. I can get that information for you, but that's really for the TIF agreement if that's coming down the pipeline.
Gotcha.
No pun intended, sorry.
Thank you. And I would be interested to know, because you have labs in Kentucky, California, San Francisco, Houston, how much did those city councils give you?
So in our due diligence, the goal was to stay true to where the leadership team is from, Chicago. But I can share openly that we did talk, and we did consider Houston, Texas as a very strong option, and also Louisville, Kentucky for the headquarters. That was part of our due diligence. internal to the company, but you've asked a question, I'm going to answer it honestly. Those, certainly in Texas, they were, when we first opened our office there, one of the acquisitions Michael and I did, they were wonderful to work with. Houston was wonderful, and they have stayed, and they still are wonderful, I should share. We have a great office there. It's in Houston proper. It's not a suburb. And they were wonderful to work with. We own the property here. We own the property in Louisville. And then our other offices are Menominee Falls, Wisconsin, Fremont, near Fremont, California, South Bay area, Los Angeles, California, Phoenix, Arizona, Houston, Texas, and then we have some satellites in a few other places. So I appreciate that. Those were the two. We only looked at those two. California was never considered, to respond to your California question, just due to the proximity of having everything on the West Coast. We actually have a very large contingent of our business there, ma'am, and it's a wonderful team. I love them, but it's just too far to get everything from the West Coast here.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm asking is, you're already established in these other states. What did their city councils provide you? You're asking us for a certain amount. What did they give you?
Because we have not established the headquarters, these are all secondary offices, we haven't had a request, other than when I went to Houston, for the council's support in having the project review and implementation a bit expedited, which they were very good to work with. Just the kind of the, forgive me, Director Tillman's office, that type of office in Houston.
Okay.
That was the only request we've made.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's been more them asking us if we would be interested in moving the headquarters and if they built a building for us or something like that. That's what I was referring to. But we didn't make any requests.
And we've already approved the Class 8. We just have to
It was
reaffirm
approved, I believe, in
the
April of 20.
months.
I'm sorry, yes, so there's going to be an amendment to the Class 8. The city council did approve it,
Yes.
Alderwoman.
Okay, so my only concern is what happens in the following years as you expand and you uncover more, then are we going to be asked to help you cover the expenses for additional items uncovered? And I'm asking because we are giving you a tax break at a time where our homeowners are not getting a tax break. And then we have a request to assist with something that understandably wasn't found until the weather changed, but it was a vacant manufacturing company, so there should have been some contingency or some amount available to cover this without having to come back to the city. I'm almost compelled to ask that we allow our legislative council to review this contract and agreement.
Can I be recognized? Are you done?
Before you do, can you please answer the question of will you come back and ask the council for additional funds, or that was the question?
So on the due diligence piece that I think you're speaking to, we went through the entire property as of right now. We've been through the entire property. So whether we're talking about the storm sewer out front at this point, the generator in the back, the roof conditions, heating, cooling, ventilation, you name it, we meet code, we exceed code, and we're in a very good place. We're operating in the entirety of the property at this time. So from a comeback or, surprise, if we find something else, I just don't foresee that. And as I shared, ma'am, this is, in my construction career, I stand by to the due diligence we performed. This was a manufacturing building. What existed, the conditions there, I have not seen. I just have not seen. And I stand by that statement. It was shocking. What we're about to do is this helps enable the FTE count growth that we projected with this site. We have no intention of doing anything but growing. We've proven that over the last 6 years together. I'm confident that we're on track to outperform even our own internal goals in that regard. We want to be a contributing part of the community. We want to be headquartered here proudly, and we have every intention of continuing to expand the property, working with you and the municipality to do it right. So I don't see any, surprises. One of the things we're looking at that's at the larger scale that we already know that the state of Illinois can help us with, one of the appealing things about that property is it used to have a rail spur. You can see the old drawings when it was first opened in the 60s. There were rail lines on that property. A lot of what we do, rail car is extremely helpful. And that was one of the reasons that was so attractive to us. That it's filled in with chip stone, but that there's potential that we would actually add a siding just to further enable, using tanker cars that would sit on the back and we'd be able to work with the product and then ship it right out. So I hope I'm answering your question. I don't see us coming back and saying, oh, we're not in for the long term. We are in for the long term. We have no intention of selling the organization. We have no intention of changing the ownership structure, which is Michael Byerly. As far as investment in the property, we're all about it. This enables and this helps us. This helps us continue on the vision with some of the challenges that we had to undertake and the impact it had in slowing down our redevelopment of that space. Okay?
Alderwoman Nelson.
Thank you. I have a question about, you sparked something about the TIF. Is TIF money involved with this business, and are we looking to give TIF money? And will that affect the school districts? Since Alderwoman Wilson brought up the TIF concern.
I'm sorry, your question's, I don't want to interrupt, Alderwoman.
Yes, that's the question.
So this is not a TIF redevelopment agreement. TIF proceeds are not part of this particular agreement. That was for future development. The school districts, they get the base EAV, so when the TIF was formed and voted on by the city council, that base EAV still goes to the school districts. The only thing that would be eligible for reimbursable expenses on this 602 state would be the additional increment generated by those improvements, the new development, the expansion.
So to sum it up for me, does any money from the TIF, does the school district lose any money from the TIF?
If there is on the base EAV, no, Alderwoman. So if it was set at, I'll use a round number, $100,000 per year was going to that school district out of the TIF, no matter what the increase is, they're still going to get that $100,000 for the duration of the TIF.
Okay.
I don't have all the agreements with the TIF, but that's principally how they work.
Okay.
But the additional increment generated by the improvements is what would be used or could be used to pay for those reimbursable TIF costs.
Okay. My second question is, how long was the building vacant before you bought it?
I believe it was 11 months.
Just 11 months. Okay, then I just found out, and I'm learning this, TIF is different from a Class 8, right? Is that correct?
Yes, Alderwoman.
So there's a tax break. How much is that tax break, guesstimate?
Do you have? I don't have the dollar amount for you.
Roundabout.
Mr. Dodson, Adam Dodson, who's a consultant with Global Water.
Good evening, everyone. In light of your question, just let's back up to 2022. That was the year before the reassessment down here. The taxes were approximately $250,000. They are now about $630,000. That's due to the increase of the assessment in 2023. That was a situation where, as you know, taxes are in arrears. So in 2023, taxes were payable in 2024. They purchased it in 2024. They ended up with a tax bill of $632 now. So with the Class 8, in addition to the 6B that exists on the property, you're looking at a tax bill about $400,000 at the end of the day. So you're looking at about $230,000 savings, which is still more than the original amount back in 2022.
So we're looking at $230,000 that the city will be losing.
Well, actually, in the sense of what you're speaking of, it's a reassessment. It's not a loss of money in the tax world, meaning that what happens here is the reassessment of 25% goes to 10% on the value of the property. Does lower the tax bill.
Right.
But the reassessment, what happens there is it is spread out throughout the county.
Okay. That also comes with the Class 8, also comes with all of the city fees being waived as well for any permit and anything else, right?
No, that's for the enterprise zone.
Okay.
That's Class 8 is the Cook County Tax Incentive Program, and what
Okay.
you're speaking of is the incentives for the enterprise zone, which is the Calumet area zone, I believe. And I think the permits are half price, I think 50%, yeah.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, just briefly. I hear you talk about the future phases. What are the future phases, and if there's any surrounding properties that you wish to acquire?
We have had some conversations about that, yes. This property, due to the acreage that is unbuilt, north and west of the existing structure, it offers several acres, a couple acres to develop. Based on our growth projections, expanding the current facility will, definitely accommodate our needs in probably the 5 to 10 year period. We have considered, properties that would be down the road, near State Street in the area as a potential, so kind of a secondary purchase. But that would definitely be a future, a future discussion. No final decisions have been made there. The total phases, the front end of your question, the project plan had phase 1A and 1B. We're in 1B right now, and we're not done. So phase 1A was basically getting it all cleaned and really researching what we needed to do to begin occupancy, which we achieved in December of 2024 for a small portion of the property. 1B was the complete redevelopment of the office area for our headquarters team and administrative team, finance, all of that, communications. The lab is part of phase 1B. We have not begun construction on that. We haven't done anything in that regard. So the lab will be next. And then the completion of our technical center. Some of the department leaders have been over to the building. We've done quite a bit, but the vision as articulated by our design team, we had to scale back just due to availability of cash and the other requirements that had to be fulfilled to achieve code so that we could achieve occupancy. So our technical center and the lab would be next in 1B. And then in 2027, phase 2 is to, and I'd welcome any of you to come visit us and I'd love to give you a tour. The office area, if you know the property, sits at the very southeast corner of the building. The way we worked with our design team, it will be very easy to build out basically a letter L. So there's a space of the warehouse that we have known since day one we're going to develop into office. And we already exceed the parking requirements per code based on our FTE projections. That was something we looked into. So we'd like to start that design here in 2026 with the same design team we worked with, and then go into implementation during the summer months of 2027. Okay? And that would, excuse me, Alderman, please.
Is there a cost projection for the completion of 1B?
1B is about $750,000 to $1 million for those two items, the lab and the technical center.
And what about phase 2?
Phase 2 is at $3.2 million. And the expansion, which we're calling tentatively phase 3, but the expansion of the building envelope in the new building on the green space toward the rail lines is pinned at around $5 million.
So and you've invested what?
$9 million so far.
$9 million. So
Correct.
we're looking at 9, 11, 14, close to $15 million investment total. What's the timeline on the completion of 1B?
Based on certainly the conversation we're having this evening and closing out our year, we run on the calendar year. The goal is to submit design documentation to Calumet City by the second quarter, and to the second quarter of 2026 for review and approval with the Farnsworth Group that is retained by the city. They worked with us on the first phase. and then get into implementation as that process allows us to do the lab and the technical center. I'd like to see that complete by the summer of '27. And during that construction time, we'll have already submitted the design documentation for Phase 2, which is that office area that we want to expand. It's about a 30,000 square foot footprint right there off the existing office. Uses the same restrooms, uses the same infrastructure that we already have. We'd like to have that teed up like a boxcar on a train so that we can go right into construction summer of 2027 with Phase 2.
Okay. I don't have anything else.
Thank you. Final question, John Kasparic, you mentioned that this is an eligible project under our bond. The motion is under our bond. Can you confirm that the request for tonight is under our eligible bond expenditure, under economic development infrastructure?
That's correct, Mayor. As I indicated earlier to the council when we were doing this, I have not read the agreement, but this is a project that could be eligible. There's a lot of new things I heard about today, sales tax revenue, TIF. I'm not even sure what TIF this is in. It might be the new TIF. It's in the old TIF. There's no TIF eligible benefits left in TIF 1, basically. But those are all things that I could be, and I did not know. That was a question I even asked you. Are they going to come back and ask for additional benefits later on? Because all of that really needs to be looked at instead of answering some of the alderman's questions. I don't think it's a bad project. In fact, I think someone willing to invest that type of money in Calumet City is a great idea. As everybody knows, I've pretty much done dozens of economic incentive agreements, including, when the mall was closed, Sam's Club, the name of 2 big projects. So I think this is definitely a worthwhile. And as far as I would take the money out of it's 6 one, half a dozen the other, but on the 2023B bond, you have other infrastructure and economic development or contingency. One has over $2 million available, the other has $427,000. This is definitely a bond eligible project. There's no doubt in my mind on that. So if you want to use the bond money, fine. I would say before we commit anything else, I'd really like to know everything they want to do, because sales taxes perks my ear versus giving up real estate taxes and so forth. Okay, but there is money available, Alderman. You could, that's not a problem. I assure you it's eligible, because I watch these bonds like a hawk. So trust me, this could fly.
Alderman Gardner.
Thank you, Mayor. Finance Director Kasparic, have you had a chance to review the economic incentive agreement?
I didn't, Alderman, that was a comment I had made to the mayor. I had not seen any paperwork related to this, other than just being told there's $150,000.
We got it. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
So I have one more thing. I love that your company wants to expand here. I really do, and we appreciate it. I know I do. But we have a lot of projects before us. We have so many projects that are out there that we can't even keep up with. There's other areas where we need to focus on right now. So for me, I really believe that this needs to be done at a later time, maybe in the future, but not right now. We have financial issues right now, and we're always giving away. We need to take care of home. It's time. That's all I have.
So tonight, is there a motion to approve this, provided that the agreement is sent to Legislative Council and is sent to John Kasparic? The motion on the agenda tonight is to approve the redevelopment agreement and make payment to Global Water in the amount of $150,000. Further direct the city treasurer to make payment from the 2023 bond at 2023 B bond, infrastructure and economic development amount, provided that Legislative Council reviews it and provides that John Kasparic reviews it. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'm inclined to wait until it's reviewed, not to say that I wouldn't support it, but I would like for, I'm inclined to wait. I think it's in the best interest to wait until it's reviewed by our finance director and legislative council.
Listen, businesses are not clamoring to come to Calumet City. So this city council holding off action on a business that's investing $16 million in Calumet City, you're going to scare other businesses from coming to Calumet City. If the council doesn't want to take action on this, don't take action on any other businesses that are coming to Calumet City. We've been reviewing this for 2 or 3 months now. If you want to put a freeze on businesses coming before us in economic development, say that tonight, because we can't keep businesses that are investing in Calumet City coming before us. This money is not coming out of our corporate fund. Let me say that again. This money is not coming out of our corporate fund. This is money that we bonded for, and we have no other use that we can use it for except what Finance Director Kasperick said. So if there's no motion tonight,
So can I add something, Mayor?
let's move on, Alderman. If we're not going to take a vote on this tonight, Alderman,
But I want to make sure that we're clear
I would like to
that
clear the record.
it's not that we don't want businesses to come here. We do. And what I'm hearing, that bond money could be used for several things. And what my opinion is that we need to focus on some things in our community a little bit. We want the businesses to come, but there is so much going on and so much, take it out of this bond, take it out of this bond, take it out of that bond. No disrespect to you, Kasperick. We need a slow down crash course of this. We are new alderwomen and we still have not been trained properly. Everything is a crash course, so please don't leave here and think that we do not want businesses here. We want to grow our city. We want to build it, but there's a lot of waste, and we need to focus on fixing what's going on now. Thank you.
Mayor, may I be recognized?
Alderman Durham.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't want you guys to get the wrong interpretation of this council's position tonight. However, we're moving forward with transparency. The fact that our finance director has not seen an economic incentive agreement, we need to just take a little bit more time on this. We're appreciative of the work that you guys have put into the community. We're thankful. And we're optimistic that you guys want to do the right thing moving forward. However, since the last meeting, things have changed in this council. We've appointed our own legislative council. So in the spirit of fairness and transparency, Mayor, we would like for him to have the opportunity to review it. That's all. Thank you.
Alderman, thank you. Our commitment, I thank you for your comments. We're doing everything we can. From an FTE standpoint purely, we've already doubled what that manufacturing facility was employing in Calumet City, just with where we're at now. So I share that data point just to say our commitment to what we're doing, how we beautified and landscaped the property, everything that we're doing to elevate the game is heartfelt and very sincere. And the request for the $150,000 to enable the $16 million in total investment is to just help us continue to achieve the vision we set. And I do appreciate all of your time tonight and the questions that you asked. We are transparent, and I would welcome any one of you to come visit with us and tour the property. Okay. Thank you. Mayor, thank you.
We're going to take a 5-10 minute recess. And we're back in the regular order of business at 7:17 p.m. On item 6, is there a motion to table item 6?
I thought item 6 failed for lack of motion.
There was no motion, so action has to be taken.
There was no first item number
6. That motion failed. Now we're looking for a motion to table it so legislative council can review it. Did we get that? Make that motion.
There's a motion by Alderman Williams to table the matter so legislative council can review it. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second by Alderman Gardner. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll on item number 6?
Oh, no.
Tillman,
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Nelson,
We vote.
table until legislative council review. Phillips,
No.
Hart,
Yes.
yes, that's 3 yeses, 4 noes.
So the matter fails to be tabled and be acted upon by the city council. Item number 7 is discussion and presentation of grant reporting update that was requested by the alderman.
Good evening, everyone. I am Alicia Binford, as you know, and for the public, my name is Alicia Binford. I am one of the founding partners of Binford Brown and Associates. We are a CPA firm headquartered here in Chicago, Illinois. Our firm has been working with the city to assist with some of the grant reporting. We were retained, I believe about the July time frame, to help out with some of the grant reporting. You should all have a packet that gives you a summary of items that we have been able to assist with and complete over the last 5 months. So I'll kind of go through that. I'll go through it pretty quickly because you all have all the information. Some of the things that we have been able to do was assist with reviewing the GATA portal and the other state reporting databases with the Economic Development Department and the Police Department, making sure they understand whatever their responsibilities are versus our responsibilities in regards to the grant reporting. We have started some of the training with the economic development staff on the grant reporting and documentation that needs to be maintained. As you all recall, your audit from, I believe it was the 2023 year, there were some federal compliance issues that needed to be addressed, and we have started working with them to get those matters addressed. There are several of your grants that are reimbursement-based, and basically what that means is the city has to expend those funds in order to receive the reimbursements. And they're also multi-year grants. So our firm has worked with your Economic Development Department as well as your Engineering Department to try to get as many of those up to date and completed as possible. When I say up to date, you have two facets. You have the performance reporting piece and you have the financial reporting piece. While I know numbers, I don't obviously know the engineering part of it. So that is where Farnsworth usually will have to assist with that. So I want to make sure that you all are aware that for some of those multi-year grants, there are some of them that you may be close to the end of the term on those grants, which means you have to either complete them according to that grant in order to finish getting the funds reimbursed. And if you choose not to complete them, meaning you don't want your engineering firm to complete their portion or our firm to complete the financial reporting piece, then the city will be in a position where you have to return whatever funds you've already received as a part of that reimbursement process. So I know I said a lot right there. I just want to make sure that you all understand the reimbursement piece and how that works before I continue. Because obviously there's several players that have to play a role in order to make sure that you're successful in getting those funds.
Can you repeat that one more time?
I will absolutely repeat that one more time. Some of your grants are considered reimbursement-based. So an example would be if the city is awarded, I don't know, a $1 million grant to fix a sewer system or to put up a light post, right? That could be considered a reimbursement-based grant.
So is the, can I just interject? Is this an example of like from our last meeting when we didn't approve Farnsworth with the grant?
I
We
wasn't.
tabled it.
I wasn't at your last meeting, so I'm not sure. So I'll finish explaining, and if you want to ask me a question about that particular one, maybe I can answer that. But just explaining that particular process. Typically, the grants will have a performance-based reporting and a reimbursement-based reporting. I'll give you an example a little bit later of something that we did to help the fire department get some funds reimbursed. So as a performance-based reporting, there could be several phases, right? If there is, I don't know, Blues Water Run, I think is one that
Right.
comes to mind.
Yeah.
You have some sewer systems that you're working on, if you're working on sewer systems, and the state would ask for engineering specifications of what needs to be done as a particular phase of a grant. Those performance reports are usually due quarterly, and then financial reports or requests usually come after that, meaning you would say to the state, this is how much we have spent in order to do that work, and then once you show that to the state, then the state will give you that money back. The state does not give you the money back until you've expended the money, which means that's the reimbursement portion of it. And so an example would be, unfortunately, when your former assistant fire chief passed away, the fire department was in the middle of getting some grants reimbursed. When our firm came in, we had to first get access to the FEMA system. That, I believe, I'm not exaggerating, was almost a month or 2-month process, because at that time, the former assistant fire chief was the only one that had access, so FEMA kept saying that we had to get the access via that email account. So we were finally able to get that access, and then Chief Bockert was able to provide to me any expenses that had been spent. I believe it was on uniforms or something of that nature, totaling $60,000 or $70,000. We were able to turn that around pretty quickly, get that submitted to FEMA, and then the city was able to get those funds reimbursed. So you could have spent that money in January, but if expenses are not reported and properly, it could be a period of time that you'll get those funds back. And if you run up to the end of a contract period or a grant period, and you have not completed every facet of that grant, they can then say, well, now we want all of the money back, even though you haven't finished the project that you were awarded. Does that answer your question? So and that's usually a question that we get all the time, especially on reimbursement type grants. The other option is to get advance payments, which we don't typically suggest people do, because then you're on the hook to make sure you get all the reporting in, and then to try to get the money back, and then if you don't spend all the money, then you have to pay back the additional funds. So if you're able to work on a reimbursement basis, sometimes that's usually the best fiscal way to handle those things. So did that answer your question, Alderwoman, in addition to answering Alderman Tillman's question? Or
Your explanation of reimbursement, but I think it goes back to the example of what we had at our last meeting discussing the Blue Water Run, or not just the Blue Water Run, it was, let me slow down. It was what we tabled, and it was for all of the farm works, and it was them saying that we had to approve something so we wouldn't lose the grant.
Okay, that could have been what that was pertaining to. You know, I know you have Arthur Street, you have several different grants that, that Farnsworth is actually working with us, or that we're working with Farnsworth on to make sure all of the reporting is accurate. I believe you have some items on the agenda tonight.
Yes, yeah.
And so one of the things that we've tried to do when we came on board to also assist with speeding up the process is whenever invoices are submitted from Farnsworth or from anyone, if it's pertaining to a particular grant, we've requested that they put the grant number on there. So it's easier for the treasurer's office to process that information. And then it also makes it easier for us when we have to complete what's called the schedule of federal expenditures for your auditors, and be able to track all of that information back to every single grant. You all don't set up a separate fund for every grant, which is fine, but it allows us to process things and to streamline that process.
Okay.
Okay? And I actually just spoke on the fourth item, which is where we assisted in obtaining access to the FEMA portal for reporting purposes. Some of the things that we've been able to help with as well is, one of the things I mentioned was assisting in getting you all $63,000 for the FEMA grant reimbursed. We were also successful in getting a decision reversed by the state. There was a grant initially that you all had received in advance for, and the state had actually asked the city to pay back about $57,000. Our firm was actually able, and then there was a formal hearing that was also requested, but our firm was able to actually go back and read that grant agreement and help everybody identify more expenses or what's called allowable costs that pertain to that grant. So once we were able to provide that information to the state, they actually canceled the hearing and allowed you all to not have to pay back $57,000. So we were able to save some funds there. And then one of the matters...
Can you pause right there, Alderman Wilson? You asked a question about the violence prevention grant.
Yes, that was one.
That's the one that Alicia is talking about now, that we got the money back, or?
Yep, that would be one of them, yep.
Yeah, but what I was asking was, it wasn't so much the grant, it was why was the account negative, almost $150,000 in the treasurer's report. So I do understand this.
Yeah, and that could have been honestly because of a cash flow delay in payment from the state as well, so, yep. IDHS, we are currently working with them because they actually identified, Alderwoman, this might help you as well, they actually identified where the library had actually submitted for reimbursement of a different expense for violence prevention for $52,000, and they actually failed to process that one. So when the state brought that to our attention, we actually assisted to try to help them get that, and so we had to file a claim for that. So we're now working to get those funds back as well, because it was outside of the grant period in order to get that. And that was something before our time, again, that we're just trying to obviously help clean up and get that back. So you can add up all that money right there. That's probably about $173,000, $180,000 that we have been able to help you all recapture and recover. We have assisted with the data reconciliation reporting that is usually due to the state, and your filing reporting requirements in regards to the April 30th, 2024 audit. Our firm was able to come in and assist with that after one of the individuals from the Economic Development Department retired. We were able to pick that up and help out. We've assisted the economic development staff with any reporting or questions or comments. I actually counted today before I came here. I know that I've personally responded to probably well over 100 emails in regards to grant reporting from either, Treasurer's Office, Economic Development, or the state to make sure that we're able to stay on top of that. Our firm has developed the training material for the compliance training that's required for your fiscal year 2023 audit, and we will be able to administer that training in 2026 after the holidays. And currently, the other report that you have is this big report. So I just kind of went through that to give you an idea so you have some numbers. You have about 40 grants on there that at some point were awarded to you all, which means you have quarterly reporting, semi-annual reporting, or some annual reporting that is needed. So between myself, the Economic Development Department, and Farnsworth, this report will tell you who's responsible for the reporting, if it's in progress, if it's completed, and where we stand. And we tip the three of us, the three entities, Economic Development and Farnsworth and our firm, we do meet on a regular basis and have status updates so that we're all on the same page. One grant report that our firm will be helping to get caught up now will be the one for the Department of Justice. I did have access before when I had to help when there were some concerns during an audit. However, at some point my access was taken away, for the Department of Justice portal, and I literally just received that access again on December the 15th. So now I'll be able to get those reports up to date. Again, that's a reimbursement-based grant, so that will get some more funds into the city as well. One of the other items that we will need to assist with is what I stated before, the schedule of federal awards expenditures. That is a part of your single audit. Whenever you all receive more than $1 million, well, $750,000, the rule just changed. When you receive more than $750,000 in federal funds, you are required to complete a single audit. Our firm assists with getting some of the data to your external auditors in order to meet those filing and reporting requirements. And one of the other things that we did was we assisted with digitizing some of the grant supporting documentation to make it just easier and to streamline the process of getting some of this information when it will be needed for audit reporting purposes. So I counted up, because we track our hours, obviously we're an accounting firm, we love numbers. Between myself and my team, we have invested close to probably 700 hours over the last 5 months just onboarding Calumet City and trying to help make sure you all are up to date, preparing your training material, and assisting you with your grant reporting. So you all have seen this schedule before. I don't think you need me to go into this in any detail, but if you do, let me know.
No.
Yep. Yep, absolutely.
Before we go there, may I ask some questions?
Alderman Wilson.
And I apologize because I don't have your contract in front of me, but is the contract for your team? That's the amount. How many people are on your team?
The contract is for it's for the entire firm, yes.
The entire firm. How many?
Right now, there's at least 4 to 5 people that have been working on your account, which includes me.
Okay.
You just see me mostly, yeah.
And because this is very well outlined with the 700 hours, especially. So my question would be for economic development. How many CED employees is the economic development here?
Christina's here, yes.
How many employees are in CED?
Currently, we have myself, and then we have 4 others. We are in the process of phasing out Val Williams, who does the grants specifically, and we have our grants facilitator who works directly in regard to this.
Okay, and how many outside of Val work with grants? Just overall grants?
Specifically, myself, as well as we have our grants facilitator, and then we have 1 additional, as well as Val.
Okay, and how many work with grant reporting?
Specifically, I think it would be the 3, the grants facilitator, myself, and Val.
So about 5 for each, plus 4 to 5 with the firm that we've contracted to actually do the work. It seems like we're paying people twice. We have a contract for the firm, but if we have people we're paying that should know or have learned how to do this, but I guess that's a question for the council for a later day. Thank you.
So if I may, that's why we brought Benford on, because there was the issue of money out of grants not being kept up with and reported properly. And that's what I appreciate this, but that's what I really want a deep report about, because that's why we hired you. Because we knew how many employees we had on staff, but then to hear the finance guy again tell us that he can't even speak on some of the money that was spent. That's what we need to know about. So that's why she was hired, Alderwoman Wilson.
Right. I was hired to assist with getting you all back in compliance because you all had some federal compliance issues.
Right.
So, which was one of the things that I spoke to was the training plan that we put together, which I probably think is like maybe 147 slides to make sure that as, you know, as we transition, because obviously we're not going to be here forever, that your staff will understand what it means to be in compliance with the federal grants, the allowable costs, the questionable costs. But of course, part of this time period has also been spent trying to get you caught up on, you know, anything that may be needed to be caught up with as well. We don't do any actual grant applications for you.
Right.
Our part typically is whatever somebody on the staff is not able to do. So like, let's say China may help with, she came on probably right around the time I did. So I was able to at least help her learn how to do some of the grant reporting. So there are certain parts of the grants that she actually assists with the help, you know, with me reviewing some of those items. I can tell you, and Treasurer Tarka can tell you, the schedule of federal expenditures, when I came on board, I actually thought that somebody else handled that. But then that employee was no longer there. And Treasurer Tarka basically, nope, that's not something we handle. So again, it was something that our firm was able to pick up and assist, because when your audits are not filed on time, you end up on no pay lists, and then you all won't get paid by the state. So we were able to assist with all of those things, which was a part of this grant reporting.
So may I ask, do you believe that they are caught up enough where either we no longer need a full firm to do this work, or the firm would be in our best interest and we should cut some of the folks that cannot do this work in economic development?
Well, you have, the person that I know I typically work with, from the part that I've been with, is China. She's been here probably, what, all of 5 or 6 months. So I wouldn't, there's things that it takes, you know, it takes time to learn some of those things. So I can't say that she has learned everything that I've been doing for the last 30 years to do some of these things, but what she was able to catch up on and learn, I was able to transition some of those things to her, absolutely. And she has been doing a great job at some of those as well, so. And our contract was only for a year. It was not a long-term contract. So this was meant for me to obviously help you all get back into compliance and obviously off the federal radar.
Yes.
The biggest challenge, and that will probably be a question for Treasurer Tarka, is because somebody has to provide this information to auditors, to your external audit firm going forward. And a lot of times, sometimes it's another CPA firm to help with that, to make that an easier process, and sometimes you have in-house people to do that. But right now, our firm was the one that was tasked with doing that, so we had to take something that somebody else started and figure out what they reported before to then finish the reconciliation to get the ball across the finish line to finish that last audit.
I had a question.
Alderman Williams.
How many active grants that are out, not outstanding, but that are active that still require reporting?
You guys probably, this one here, if you look, I'm going to help you so that everybody understands how this works and answer your question. In the funding status column, you will see everything that has been awarded, right? And then if you look over, this is still on the first page, 2 columns over from the left, anything that says in progress, that means those grants still have some type of reporting to do, okay? So when and that could just be, that could be a final report at some point. That could be a report that you all may have not really started just yet because it was awarded and we're waiting on something from the state, or, you know, they may be reviewing some files from the engineer. There was some slowdown at the state when they finished their year-end process as well. But anything that says in progress, so there's probably close to 40 now that need some type of reporting, even if it's on an annual basis. Now, our firm is not doing all of those. Some of those is what China's actually doing, right?
So how are we going to figure out a way to combine, whereas we're not paying all of these people to do a job that does not necessarily need this many people?
Well, for our firm, we assign people so that we have checkers that check checkers that that have other checkers. We do grant management on a regular basis, so we have a system that we utilize to do this. You all aren't paying a fee for every single person. You all pay a flat rate that covers us being able to help with everything. You know, we have to have somebody develop the training material that you all need to complete. So, you know, we have people at our staff that have been working on all of those things over the past 5 months.
Are we ever going to see that training manual?
Yes, I already have the PowerPoint available, and we plan on presenting that training to the staff at the beginning of 2026.
And that training is to put in place to make sure that checks and balances is in place so money will not be spent and there's no track of it.
It's the compliance training, and it will help them also with the record keeping and what they're required by the federal law to keep track of.
Okay.
So basically, the issues that came as a result of your single audit.
Okay.
And I can help you also know that some of those things obviously have already been cleared up when I was explaining how we've helped to streamline that process and start to scan in certain things and help them with fixing the server in a certain way to make sure that they can be proactive in saving some of those documents going forward for reporting purposes. So I'm trying to do, you know, everything I can in this year so that hopefully after this year, you guys may not need our services. We may be able to just, you know, phase that into whoever is still here. But I'm trying to put all those steps in place and have everything in writing, like I did whenever I've provided any other services here in the past.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions?
Well, it's not really for Ms. Benford, but I think we need to halt hiring for economic development until we can get an understanding of what the HR director is looking for when he's hiring, because we should have more skilled labor. I know we also still do not have an actual economic development director. We have an interim, but not an actual director. I think that will help with the knowledge, because the firm is for 1 year. And then we do need people to be trained and understand moving forward. And I don't feel that we are hiring.
So I can tell you that any services our firm has provided, because we were here before, I've always left with a step-by-step SOP. I get yelled at the firm because I always want standard operating procedures for everything.
Yeah.
It makes it easier to transition. So yes, it takes longer, right? But it makes it easier to transition those things to someone else. So that is our goal when we are finished with this project. And that's
also,
a part of it.
And also for the record, Christina is the official, full-fledged Community Economic Development Director.
When did that happen?
As mayor, I get to make that choice, and as Christina just mentioned, Val is stepping away. She will only be here 1 day a week. Val has been here almost 30 years, and Christina has never, she's been learning under Val and doing grant writing and doing all the reporting, so she is skilled beyond belief with Val and with the business community.
May I ask, do you have to present your appointment to the council for us to vote yea or nay? I understand you have every 30 days for a number of time to reappoint.
No, not under this position. You can ask your legislative counsel that.
I will. I'll email him later,
I'm sure he'll give you a good answer.
because I'm not confident in your choice. That should have been brought before us when we asked for a headhunter to look for someone, not in-house. I'm sorry, but Five Below is not economic development.
Well, Alderwoman, if you recall, I gave the city council the choice when we brought in a different individual. That individual didn't work out. As stated, as mayor, I do not have to bring an appointment before the city council. If you want to make that decision yourself, maybe you should run for mayor of Calumet City.
Maybe I will.
But for tonight, officially, Christina is the Community Economic Development Director. And I don't want to discuss names in public, but if you'd be happy, you know the current director, you can go talk to her about all of the programs and projects and businesses that have come to Calumet City under her watch.
Again, I don't feel comfortable with your choice, but
Well,
it's okay, we're on something else here.
So if I can interject, I appreciate everything that you do, Christina, but I somewhat agree, not that you're not qualified. I believe you are to a degree, but we need to find someone who is that has skills in building and bringing businesses, and not just businesses, us looking into some of our own homes to be part of that economic development. And that goes to the very reason why I did not want to give another $150,000, because that should be under the Economic Development Department. But again, this is not a slap to anybody or a dig to discount anybody's skill. We need professional people who are going to be able to go out and do what Orland is doing what South Holland is doing. And again, that's what we need.
You know, I've heard many of y'all compare Calumet City to South Holland or Orland. No economic development director and no business is going to come to Calumet City with y'all creating this mess and us fighting over if we want to support a business in Calumet City. So until we decide to get together, until we decide to say enough is enough and we want to support businesses and we want to support our employees and not attack them publicly like we're doing tonight, we're not going to move on, and no business is going to come to Calumet City. And if you guys are prepared to do that, I'm willing to do that. But no business is going to come to Calumet City. Nobody is going to, a current economic development director makes $160. This council does not want to pay an economic developer $160. And those numbers, you can look up those numbers, $160 economic development director makes. So there's no way we're going to be able to pay that. So we're going off topic right now.
No, we're not. Please, slow down, because you're making comments as if we want to, we hate or we are mean to the employees, and that's not the narrative that you should be putting out there. What we're saying is that we are paying people high salaries who get paid those high salaries and they are not qualified to do the job. So again, you're making it as if this is personal. It's not. This is business, Mayor Jones. This is business. So please don't send that narrative. We want businesses here. We want to see them thrive, but we also need to, again, put money in some of these abandoned homes, put a lot of these abandoned homes back on the tax roll. A lot of the money that's being spent, just like Harvey's starting to do it. We need to have a bigger vision, so please stop putting that narrative out there.
Thank you, Alderwoman Nelson, because we value the employees.
I'm sorry, you weren't recognized. Can we move on?
May I say something, Mayor?
Alderwoman, please say something so we can move on.
Okay, thank you, Alderwoman Nelson, because we do value the employees, that all of them, no matter what their skill set is, because nobody woke up knowing how to do whatever it is they do. We all have a learning curve. But to say that us as a council trying to be accountable and fiscally responsible is why businesses don't come here, I would beg you to look at some of these federal extortion cases that just came down on Calumet City.
Alicia, can you wrap up, please?
Yep. So in closing, I just want to make sure that you all understand that a lot of the grants that you have, for the most part, are capital improvement grants, right? So while I've heard everything that you all said, you have more in common than you have different, right? Because you all clearly have approved these grants for the improvements to Calumet City. I just don't want, because I'm a Calumet City resident, I don't want this city to have to give the money back if you already have it and you have a project in place that you're working on. So the biggest part is making sure you have the paperwork in compliance and that you are able to meet those deadlines where it comes to the reporting piece of it. And I can assure you that over the last 5 months, we have worked with everybody involved. We don't work in a silo, right? We have worked all collectively to make sure that we have continued to move that football, like I said, down the field. So if these are 2-year or 3-year, capital improvement projects, you still need the infrastructure to get some of these things done. So I just want you all to keep that in mind as you're looking at least the grants you have, that they were more than just a 1-year grant. So you want to make sure you stay compliant with those even after I'm gone, as you finish.
So
Any grants that we have given back because we had to wait to today to review?
Now, you have some that are pretty close. So, and I believe when Christina comes up, she's going to give you a little bit more information on that.
And that ties into the question I'm going to ask, why does it come so late? Like it's always a rush to get $1 million projects started. Who has the ability to inform us months before time saying, in 4 months this is going to be up, let's go over this stuff?
So when you say rush, I can only attest to the fact of, I know that there's usually typically quarterly reporting for some of these, so it's usually not a rush on our end to do that quarterly reporting from a performance standpoint or a financial standpoint. So typically, I haven't come to your meetings, I don't think, since July. I haven't looked at the agendas. I've literally been busy working on other clients when I'm not here, so I'm not here in the evenings like I used to be. But usually, the process is typically, if there's a project in place and we're filling out those performance reports, we have to show them that some of those things have been paid. So you may then see them on your agenda for approval or payment, and then if not, then that's then going to possibly get moved maybe to another quarter for payment, because we've now missed that quarter deadline to get that reimbursed. Does that make sense?
It does, and it opens more questions for me, because then it leads me to believe, let me hurry up and get a project on the agenda so I can get this paid for.
Well, most of the projects, and what will help you, let me help you with this, because I always say numbers don't lie. You can look at those grant numbers. If you have a grant on here that says G11, that project has been going on. It was awarded in 2020. So you all have been working on phases of that project since then. So what might be the rush right now is that you're at the end of that phase, and if you don't do whatever, if you don't check those, I'm not the bad guy. If you don't check those boxes for the federal government at the end of this project, they're going to say, give us back this $400,000 or $1 million or whatever, because you're at the end of that phase. So I can assure you that if that's G11, that has been on several agendas before now. Right now, it may be on an agenda because you are coming towards the end of a phase and they need to move to the next phase. And while I can probably crunch numbers in a week or two, it takes a while to do some of this engineering studies and things like that, you need some lead time to do some of those things. So I'm learning just enough to be dangerous, and I hope I'm not saying anything wrong, Matt. I'm trying to do what I can from memory, just from, working with grants over the years.
And I do understand that.
Yeah.
But just like you said, if it's something that started in 2020, we're in 2025 now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what makes it real. I respect that, all of it, but then there's certain things like that's on our agenda paid for, like renderings and drawings, and then sometimes you don't see anything else with it. But that's another conversation.
Well, and the thing is, here you go, but that's a good question, because it could be too that when that stuff gets submitted to the state, then there could be a delay in the state actually approving things to move to the next level, even in that particular project, okay? And I know, for example, some of these projects that may have been awarded in a previous administration, if they didn't get started then, and you all still got that information awarded, and then you all came into office, and now you're trying to move through those. So it's not always, obviously, it's not always on the city side. We can submit that information, but we still have to wait for approvals before we can move things to the next level as well.
I understand. I appreciate you. One more thing for me. I would love to see you a little bit more because we hired you to handle and clean up some different things. And like you said, we have not seen you since July. And it's a pleasure to hear from you. So we want to see you a little bit more, okay?
No problem. I don't handle your agenda, and I know it's an open meeting, so whenever I'm on the agenda, I will be here.
Okay.
So Mayor Jones said you all asked for me to come, and I'm here. So, yep.
Thank you. So item number 8 and 9, does the council wish to proceed with item 8, 9, and further this agenda, or would you rather defer action on these items till legislative council has the opportunity to look at them? We got Paycom on here, we have the items for Farnsworth. So would the council like to defer these items to have legislative council look at them?
Yes, we would.
Yes.
So is there a motion to take items 9, 10, all items concerning items 8, 9, 10, and defer them to legislative council?
I have a question about item number 9.
Yes.
The presentation that we received, was that presentation given to every department head?
Juliana is here now. The presentation is ready to go. It was just Paycom. So was that department, you made references that you're going to wait to do the departments, or did you do the departments already?
We did your largest departments. Sorry, I think that just moved. We did your largest departments, so fire and police. And then in training, we'll do all the presentations as well within the training of implementing the system. Does that answer your question?
That answers it, yes.
Okay. Is there any concern with the system?
So last time we implemented a new system, I know that it was incompatible with certain departments, although it was really good with other departments. So sometimes it's good to have that presentation and allow all the departments to ask certain questions that,
Sure.
We wouldn't be able to ask because we don't know.
What system is that?
What was the last system?
It was about SunGuard. Was it compatible with SunGuard?
Yeah, like it worked really well with Public Works, but Inspectional Services Department, there were some things that were incompatible. So sometimes it's good to just have the presentation with those department heads so they can ask the relevant questions to make sure that.
Can I ask you why it was incompatible?
That's a good question for them. And that's exactly why you probably should.
Okay, so one thing I will say on that is your SunGuard system is an accounting system. It's not particularly an employee-facing system. So why Paycom is different is because it's an employee-facing system. It's an employee-first system. So it's made to be engaged with your employees. So why it might have been incompatible or why it might have been difficult is because it's truly an accounting system. It's not an HRIS or it's not a payroll type of system. So your employees can't really get information out of it. They're still having to ask their supervisors or still having to ask their managers. They can't understand like their total comp. They can't register for benefits. Like it's not an employee-facing system at all. Why we're even here and why this project was even started in a lot of reasons is because your SunGuard system for the payroll side is actually sunsetting because it's really just an accounting system. So they won't even be able to do your payroll in a length of time that I'm not aware of, which is why we're bringing in the Paycom system and also having it be an employee-facing system. Does that make a little bit more sense?
If I may. Mr. Treasurer.
Just to add on, Alderman Tillman, the SunGuard system is the main operating system of the city. This Paycom system would be a supplemental system that would work within it would work within the SunGuard system, but as the representative said, this is more based for the employees rather than for us.
Correct. So your SunGuard system is an accounting system, and feel free to jump in, but is an accounting system for the entirety of your organization or for your city. What Paycom does is your payroll, your taxes, any time and attendance data, any shift differentials, any overtime, the collection of all of that data, any of your benefits, signing off on documents, COBRA, onboarding, everything like that. So it funnels into your accounting system because it has to do with the payroll, but it's not particularly replacing it because Paycom's not going to take over like your billing or anything like that for outside projects. Does that make a little bit more sense on what Paycom is?
This is something that the employee will be able to utilize.
Correct. So it's an employee-facing system. It's also an admin and manager-facing system because your admins are the ones that are going to be actually running the payroll. But what the benefit to you guys is almost all of your processes when it comes to payroll, timekeeping, benefits, COBRA is all on paper. So just for reference, I know that your payroll is about $1 million, so $26 million of your liability is run almost completely on paper. So what that's doing is replacing your employees that are utilizing paper for their time and attendance, their overtime, their PTO, their benefits, putting it into a system with your guardrails and your rules built into the system so we can stay within those guardrails. Does that make sense? So when we're running payroll, it's completely accurate.
There will also be a cost saving on the SunGuard site to help offset the new charges for this.
Okay, so in other words, there's no real risk of something not being incompatible like it with SunGuard?
No, but as was stated, SunGuard is the main operating system. There's a community side, there's the finance side, and that's an internal system that we gain access and information from the entire city. This thing will supplement, this new software will be more user-friendly to the employees, and it'll also help HR and payroll populate some of the spots on the payroll check that are blank now, because the conversation will be freer between HR and payroll. Talking, the systems talking to one another. That is not capable now within the SunGuard component of the HR payroll system.
Yep. So it'll give you an idea, or it'll show you, it'll be a centralized place for all of your departments when it comes to your payroll or HR data or employee data. So it's a centralized system, a single point of data for everything that has to do with your employees and your payroll and your time and attendance.
Thank you.
Yep.
Ma'am.
Alderman Wilson.
So one of the reasons I asked for this to be tabled, because I do believe it's a great program, especially anything that we can do as have our employees do on their own, is I again asked for it to be tabled until we get the payroll documents that we've been asking for weeks. I just don't want to see where things that we've asked for cannot be found. And the reasoning then becomes we changed software. So as soon as some of the FOIAs and some of the payrolls that documents we've been requesting come through, I'm okay with approving it, but not at this time.
Would you mind sharing what some of those documents are? Because it's possible we could help you find them.
I can't, not in open session.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I just for reference, if it's anything that has to do with taxes or anything that you guys have filed, we can follow up with that. No, nothing with the IRS? Okay, gotcha. If there's anything I can help with, please let me know if you think. What we can do is also bring in some historical data so that into the Paycom system from previous pay runs so that you guys always have access to that information as well. But depending on what it is, I could maybe help. Okay. Of course. Any other questions as far as the system or capabilities, things like that?
Yes. Did we ever agree? I know you sent it to us, I believe.
Yes.
About the
receipts.
The receipts.
Yes.
Did we agree on that
Yes.
amount? Okay.
That's in the cost that's before the council.
Okay.
We sent that to everyone as well about the receipts. That's and this will come out of IT infrastructure bond. The account number is stated. And then is it still going to take you 8 weeks to do the implementation?
Yes, it will. Is there any questions on that?
With this $10,000 amount, Is this contingent upon a city our size with how many employees?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
This $10,000 amount, the startup, the initiation fee, is this amount based off a city of how many employees?
It's based on your package individually that I created with your HR team.
Okay.
And the training that we're going to do for your employees. It's not changing based on like if you, in the time that we start the project, if you get more employees, like that doesn't change. This is just set.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Alderman Williams, is there a motion to approve item number 9 as presented?
So moved.
Motion made by Alderman Williams, is there a second?
Second.
Second. No, we're going to defer items 10 and all items in 10, Alderman. I mean, clerk. Yes, motion made by Alderman Williams, second by Alderwoman Wilson. Harvey, I'm sorry. Madam Clerk.
Discussion.
Alderwoman Wilson.
Can we table this until all of the documents we've asked for come back? Because I foresee a change in software being the excuse of why we don't get what we asked for.
Sorry, can I interrupt just for a second? Because you're actually not particularly going away from SunGard, I'm not sure that that would totally be an issue because you'll still do business with them, so I don't foresee them holding your documents as like hostage.
We
Is
work
that what
in
you're-
between these walls, so
What
I'm
was
gonna
that?
tell, we work in between these walls and things disappear every day.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna
Right.
keep you out of the excuse being that we are changing software. And as soon as our documents are received that we requested, then I'm okay with moving forward. Until then, I'm not.
Just for the record, are you requesting documents from my office? Because
No,
I think we've answered all of your.
you have, but there's some more coming on the horizon, and there's some that we've asked from other departments that they may need to come to you. And because we don't have that, I don't feel comfortable at all moving forward.
Alderman, we have a motion and a second. And then, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. And then if your motion to table, this doesn't pass, then we can go with that. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
For the,
No.
this is for,
To pass, yes, pass PACOM.
okay, yes.
Yes.
He was just so excited to say yes.
Yes.
No. Phillips?
No. Yes.
On the roll call vote of 4 voting yes and 3 voting no, the item number 9 does pass. And we look forward to you providing us with the services and getting this done in 8 weeks.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Can you also, we have the contract that we have to sign, so we can
Yep.
provide that to the city council as well?
They all have it, I believe, but I can provide it again if that's, do you want me to just send it to you at the top of your
Yes.
inbox? Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Sounds good. Well, I will send that to you tonight, Mayor, and I look
Okay.
forward to it. Good night.
Item 10, is there a motion to table?
Can we just change the language? In item number 10, it reads Alderwoman Gardner. It should be Alderman. I would like to make that correction for the record.
Can we make that correction for the
Merry
record?
Christmas, everybody.
That it reflects Alderman Gardner. Alderman, can you make the motion to table items 10,
Yes, I would like,
A through L?
yes, I would like to make a motion to,
Do you want to table or defer to
we're
it?
gonna, yes, I would like to defer to Legislative Council for review.
Alderman Gardner made a motion to table items 10.
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Wilson. Madam Clerk,
No,
can you
we're
please?
deferring it. We're deferring it. I'm sorry, we're deferring it to
Referring.
Legislative.
I think the proper motion is the motion to table it while legislative council reviews to report back to us, then we can take it off the table and bring it back after legislative council's had a chance to review.
Boy, you made that long.
I know.
Okay, so we'd like to make a motion to table it pending legislative council's review. All right?
Motion made by Alderman Gardner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Wilson. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Nelson? Yes. Phillips? Yes. Harvey? Yes.
Yes.
There being no further business to come before the special meeting of the City Council, is there a motion to adjourn at 8:12 p.m.?
So moved.
Motion made by Alderwoman Phillips, second by Alderwoman Harvey. All in favor? Meeting is adjourned at 8:12 p.m. We will take a 5-minute recess, and then we will start the regular City Council meeting that was immediately following the special meeting.